Hey everybody, how's it going? Let's talk about your home recording studio. Today, let's do some mixing. I haven't really done that on the channel here so far, so hey, let's give it a try. What I have here is a project that I recorded in the last week with the Behringer $100 home studio. You know, everything's recorded through that. All the vocals and acoustic guitars are through the microphone, through that C1 microphone. The guitars are direct and the bass is direct into the UMC-22. I did all the monitoring at the time through the headphones and those Behringer headphones. And you know, honestly, I'm pretty satisfied with the way that stuff turned out, given the cost of that setup. So I was going to actually mix the project that I recorded with it. I'll have a separate video, you know, documenting the whole recording process and everything, tracking process. But I figured, hey, this is a great opportunity. Let's actually just kind of do some mixing. Now I think since mixing is an incredible amount of work and an incredible amount of considerations to make, decisions to make all along the way, this is going to be a hugely long video. So I'm probably going to split this into multiple parts, into kind of maybe instrument by instrument or instrument group by instrument group, and split it into more easily digestible pieces, maybe, rather than one, you know, 2 or 3 hour long video or something. All right, well, let's get right to it. I'm going to put my headphones on. For the mixing part here, I'm not going to mix through the Behringer or through the Behringer headphones. I probably could. I did kind of a test mix earlier in the week through the UMC-22 and through the Behringer headphones, and you know, it was fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. If it's all you got, then hey, there's nothing wrong with it at all. I'm gonna do it through my regular interface and through my regular headphones, just so I'm just more familiar with them, and I don't really like mixing in headphones in the first place, so at least this is a little bit less of a handicap than recording through unfamiliar headphones, right? All right, well, let's get started here. One caveat here is that I'm monitoring directly off my interface. What you're hearing, what's being recorded, is going through my Zoom recorder, so there's kind of an extra gain stage in there between what I'm hearing and what you're hearing. And when mixing, things are pretty quiet. I'll see what I can do in post. I don't want to clip my Zoom recorder during this part of it, so in post I'll see if I can turn up the mix and the music loud enough to make you not have to crank up your speakers to hear it. I don't know if I'll be able to really pull that off or not, but yeah, it's just one kind of word of warning here. So let's turn to the computer. All right, so I've got my mix already pulled up here in Reaper, and so I haven't done anything to this at all. If I pull over the mixer panel here, it looks like, you know, I've pulled down a couple of faders just to keep things from clipping as I was tracking. I've got my scratch track turned all the way down. Other than that, things are pretty much untouched. There's no effects on anything except a couple of the guitars. And I guess I probably should mention that just a couple of things about this project. So my whole point here was to use an inexpensive setup, an inexpensive microphone, an inexpensive pair of headphones, and an inexpensive audio interface. I didn't really want to turn this into a, hey, let's see what happens if we plug thousands of dollars worth of gear into a $40 box. That's not really the point of this. So I'm going to try during the mixing process here to use as many free plugins and free effects as I can. And even as you look at the computer screen here, you'll see, well, I'm using Reaper. My intent was to use Traction 5 because that's what Behringer points you to when you buy their budget interfaces, rather than provide a light version of Cubase or anything, or Pro Tools or anything like that. They just tell you, just go download Traction 5. And as you can see, I'm not using Traction 5 here. I tried, and that's why there's been such a large gap in my videos over the last couple of weeks, was because I spent a week. I mean, I spent probably 20 hours or 30 hours trying to get to know Traction, and Traction and I just aren't friends. I encourage you to go download it. It's totally free. Of all the things that I don't like about it, I love the price. It's free. And it's the only free DAW that I know of that allows you to use third-party VST effects, which is great. So I'm using Reaper here, which is technically not free. It's free to download. You get a 60-day trial version. Nothing is disabled in it during that trial period. And once the trial period expires, it still stays fully functional. You get to use all the features in it. It's just that you get a nag screen every time you open it up, and you have to spend several seconds waiting for the nag screen to go away. So technically not a free DAW, but I just couldn't get along with Tracktion. It's just not my thing. All right, so let's take a quick listen. I can make plenty of excuses about the quality of what I ended up with as far as performance. I think the quality of what I ended up with as far as tracking was pretty remarkable, given the equipment used. You know, it's always going to be limited by the user as far as the performances it's capturing. So, you know, I'm not a vocalist, I'm not much of a bass player or a drummer, but I get by. So forgive the shortcomings of the performances, and let's just kind of focus on the mixing itself. So this is pretty much totally unmixed, so let's just kind of have a quick listen to what we're dealing with here.
Size immeasurable, incomprehensible.
All right, so there we got some acoustic guitars, some vocals. We've got yeah, kind of a sparse part of the mix there. If we jump forward just a little bit, we'll hear a little bit of drums, bass guitar. All right, because we're gonna get really sick of listening to that song, I'm not gonna put you through any more of it right now. All right, so before we get started really doing much mixing, I think the first thing that I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna do a Control-A and select all the tracks, and I'm just gonna grab one of the faders and I'm gonna bring them all down to 0. Just totally 0. And this is just kind of be our starting point. This is, you know, if I press play now, yeah, we're not going to hear anything. Everything's turned all the way down. This is where I like to start. Now, the very first thing that I like to do when mixing personally, I like to start with the drums because they're such a dynamic instrument. They tend to, for me, kind of set the overall levels, since the drums are, to me, kind of dictate the levels of what we're doing. So in this first episode, let's do the drums and let's get those out of the way. And then in future episodes here, we'll move on to the, you know, I like to do bass after that so I can get the bass and the drums working together. And then I imagine it as starting at the bottom. I think of the drums as kind of the foundation of the song, bass on top of that, maybe guitars or if there's any keyboards or anything, acoustic and electric guitars, and then vocals. I tend to do vocals kind of late in the process.